For me, I think I found it really empowering being my own boss, because it means that I have that inside sort of knowledge of the business. The first step to getting good at something, or to making something good, especially in the creative sector, is to be rubbish at it first. Why would I bother watching or reading something that someone couldn't be bothered to write or create themselves? It's very mediocre, in the middle of the bell curve. I'm not interested in creating media that's in the middle of the bell curve. I want to create stuff that's at the far end. Art has always been accessible for everyone. It's human expression, right? Since we've been painting on cave walls and telling stories around a fire pit.
We've just enjoyed a really great chat with Ross Exton, founder and director of Watch and Learn Productions. And my mind has been blown. So he's spoken about redundancy, perfectionism, and job satisfaction. Really big topics affecting lots of people. And I think our listeners are really going to enjoy hearing what he's had to say.
Yeah, particularly the bit around AI and creativity. There's a bit of an interesting discussion there. So here's Ross's tech journey.
Hi, my name is Ross Exton, and this is my tech journey.
Hi, Ross.
Hello.
So what is the story behind Watch and Learn Productions?
I started up Watch and Learn Productions about 2.5 years ago when I was made redundant from my last job, and trying to find the right kind of thing in the job market for me, I realized there wasn't going to be anything out there that was going to give me the same kind of satisfaction that I wanted and was going to fuel the passion that I have for video production and science communication and education. And so I just decided to create the thing that was perfect for me, which was my own company.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I'll tell you what, I've been made redundant twice. How did you feel when you were made redundant?
Oh, gosh, that was an emotional roller coaster. In terms of how I felt, I mean, at the time, it was a big shock, right? And I think there's a moment when you're sort of going through that process. If you haven't been self-employed before, it feels really, really scary, because up until that point throughout my career, I had had a regular salary. I'd known how much money was coming in month on month. I'd known, okay, I was going to get a raise this year or whatever. And you can have that kind of future planning or whatever it might be for saving or for, that kind of security, right? And so I was really worried when that came around that sort of security was just going to be sort of ripped away. And I've since realized it's all an illusion. Yes. That security, sort of financial security, or sort of knowing what's going to be coming around the corner, even if you're employed, I kind of feel that you've got maybe 3 months before your employer might turn around and sort of say, actually, we're going to shake things up. There's no longer a place for you here. And the same thing can be true if you're the director of your own company. Which is equally parts thrilling, motivating, and pretty scary as well.
One of the things with redundancy, I feel, is the word itself, redundant. So when you've been told that you are now redundant, that people can internalize that. And I'd say to anyone who's going through this process, because all of us, we've experienced this at some point in our careers pre-self-employment, is that it's the function or the role that's redundant and not you as a person. And believing in yourself and backing yourself is really important, especially in this age of tech where there's so many layoffs. How would you, the word redundant, how did that resonate with you when you heard that?
Yeah, I feel that as well. And when I was going through that process, I think you can fall into the trap of feeling like, is it me? Is it myself that is redundant rather than the role? And you've just got to see it as it's just technical legal terminology, right? That the company has to use in order to justify why they might be remixing teams or laying people off, like whatever you want to call it, right? But those companies aren't often making that decision based on individuals within it. They're just making financial decisions. But it can be really hard when you care really passionately about what it is that you do and you put a lot of yourself into your work, right? And those two things can feel really intertwined with one another. So it was difficult. And I think I've often in the past struggled with perfectionism as well, right? Which can be a really toxic kind of inner voice of wanting everything to be absolutely fantastic and for it to be perfect. And then when it's not, it feels like a reflection on you. For me, I think I found it really empowering being my own boss, because it means that I have that inside sort of knowledge of the business. I know what tasks that I'm doing might be redundant tasks, that I'm not wasting my time on those sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
But I also know the things that really drive me and I find really interesting. And yeah, I can kind of look at things that way as well. So I don't know if that really answers your question.
Yeah, I'd really like to pick up on that word perfectionism. It's really interesting because I think sometimes people believe that everything has got to be perfect to launch yourself into self-employment, but that's actually holding yourself back and it's a barrier. So I'm really glad you picked up upon that and recognizing traits within ourselves sometimes that prevent us from moving forward. So I'm really big on self-development, personal growth. So that, I'm glad you've called that out.
Yeah. Progress over perfection every time.
100%.
Right. I think it's all too easy to kind of fall into that trap of like, it has to be perfect before I put it out into the world, right? Or maybe people are going to sort of judge me for it. Or the first step to getting good at something or to making something good, especially in the creative sector, is to be rubbish at it first. And you have to give yourself permission to be rubbish before you can be good, and sort of recognize, well, this is maybe good enough for now. I'm going to draw a line under this particular project. And then next time I'm going to take everything that I've learned from that first thing that I've made and I'm going to apply it. And by iterating and having that kind of mindset means that you continue to grow as a creative person, and then you get better at it naturally, right? Yeah. And I think creativity is a muscle as well. And if you don't use it, it's going to sort of get a little bit smaller and you're not going to perhaps be as strong a creative. So you always need to be making something, iterating on it, and always learning as well, and taking that sort of mental approach rather than focusing on the absolute perfect, Oscar-winning Best Picture by someone who has 50 years of experience in the industry and a whole crew of hundreds or thousands of people all behind them. You can't hold yourself up to those standards, but you also can't get there if you're not making something as well.
Absolutely. And what you've just said completely resonates with me and probably Beverly as well. I'm just thinking of episode 1 of Tech Journey Insights. And let's put a clip of it there. I'm sure we can.
Clip it in now.
Because the video, our video angles are hilarious. But we started somewhere, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Our words, well, that was what was important.
Yeah.
The message. The visual was horrendous. So the lighting wasn't great, but we started. And starting is really important. So I'd encourage anyone who has a dream, just basically just the start of a dream, a flicker. Go for it. You've got to go for it.
Yeah. You don't get to go on a journey unless you take a first step.
Exactly.
Yes. And every journey begins with that first step. I know it's a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah. And you're really good at storytelling. I know you are really good at it because you give me lots of advice as well about storytelling. What I want to know is, and this is the sticky question, how do you use AI in your creative process?
I don't.
You don't?
That is an oxymoron.
Yeah,
You cannot use AI to be creative.
Okay.
Right? AI is derivative work by its very nature. It has been trained on the stolen work of artists unethically, and it can only generate, I'm not even going to use the word create to describe the things that it outputs.
Yeah.
It can only generate things that it has been trained on in the past. And true creativity is sort of future facing. It is looking forward to what the next thing might be. It is using your imagination and creativity to bring something to life on paper, on screen, with your hands, with written word, whatever it might be, based on your human experiences. And AI only knows the past. It only knows what has come before it and what has been trained upon it. And that, I think, is the difference between AI and human creativity.
Yeah.
Oh, so really interesting, because we had a previous guest, an American filmmaker, David Sokola, and he was talking about this. And day to day, I talk quite a lot about AI. So the jury's out on this one, I feel. I'm going to be a bit provocative here, because you've got obviously pre-trained data there. But if you've now got all this pre-trained data from which you can create something, isn't that a different type of creativity taking place?
No, there's a term in animation called rotoscoping. So in the early days of animation, they might take the film of an actor performing a scene, and then they would take the film cells of that scene and draw over the top of it. Now, if I were to take a picture of Mickey Mouse and outline it and draw over the top of it and put it out there as an original character, Disney would sue me into the ground. Right? Now, if I try and, I'm going to take half of Mickey Mouse and half of another character from a different IP, that's still plagiarism, right? I'm still outlining this particular thing and this thing. If I were to do that 1,000 times over and over, the premise is still the same. The plagiarism is still present there.
Yeah.
It's not my work. Another way to look at it is to think about it as like an art director. I've been an art director on many projects, and if I'm commissioning an illustrator to create a piece of work for a project, I'll give them a brief, a prompt, if you will. And they go away and will sort of create a first draft. Based on that, I might even give them some reference images and things to act as inspiration. And then they will come back with an illustration. And then I might give them some, actually, can we change this particular aspect? Can we change this color? Can the scene sort of look like this? And then they'll go away and they'll come back with another draft. And that process can continue on. And then with the finished piece of work, I don't then hold up that illustration and go, well, I made this. Right? I was the art director in that piece, but the illustrator was this talented individual over here. And I think there's a bit of an illusion when it comes to AI media, that it gives people this sense of, you're being a sort of creative, you're being an illustrator by sort of typing in these words. And it's a false narrative, I feel, when it comes to this sort of stuff. There's the argument as well that this AI, I'm not even going to call it AI art, because that turns my stomach. It is by definition not art.
Yeah.
The media that it generates is hollow, soulless. And I was going to make the point of there's an argument that the AI media that generates, does that make it more accessible for people? Art has always been accessible for everyone. It's human expression, right? It's one of the oldest mediums of expression that we have, right? Since we've been painting on cave walls and telling stories around a fire pit, to bring it back to storytelling, that is how we used to convey information and connect with one another as human beings. So I worry really that this technology is taking that away with a facsimile of this artificial slop that is being generated.
AI slop. Now, that's interesting. I think because we're now moving to deploying at scale with AI, I think how people adopt and adapt with AI is going to determine what's going to happen eventually, really, because right now we're still very much at a relative embryonic stage of artificial intelligence and discussing what the impacts it's having and seeing some of the impacts. So I think I keep saying this anytime I talk. It's an exciting time to be alive and around. And I do wonder about if law is going to change, copyright laws. I think we're in for a very interesting time.
Probably. I think some Scandinavian countries have introduced legislation that people own the copyright to their own likeness, their own face and their own voice.
Yeah.
So baking these things to prevent deepfakes being generated from individuals. In terms of, you mentioned the sort of embryonic stage, right? In this early stage and all of this excitement. I would challenge that though. I think there's a sort of branding and marketing message that's being pushed about this new exciting technology, right? When we talk about AI, I think in large part, it is a lot of branding that is going on, and a lot of marketing on this sort of emperor's new stocks that we can sort of trade, right? Because when we talk about AI, it's a very broad term.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And it's used to apply to a lot of different kinds of technologies. So the conversation starts losing a lot of nuance, I feel. And some of that technology is not new. It's been around for a very long time. What we might have used to refer to as algorithms in terms of using social media and what the algorithm sort of feeds you and how you train your algorithm. There's lots of very similar sort of technologies sort of going on there.
It's generative AI, just so our listeners.
Okay, let's get
generative AI.
Generative
boom,
AI,
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's-
So generative AI is going through a boom in the last couple of years. In my opinion, there is a capitalist market for generative AI where a company wants to save some money or perceive to be sort of save some money. Why would we hire a human to do it when we can get a machine to sort of output something that's close enough that we feel it probably is quite mediocre, because these generative bots are probability machines, the next probable pixel or piece of text in the string. So it's very beige. It's very mediocre in the middle of the bell curve. I'm not interested in creating media that's in the middle of the bell curve. I want to create stuff that's at the far end. And so a capitalist is going to look at that and think, well, we can save some money, right? Because that's the thing that we as a company care about and the thing that our shareholders care about. From the consumer point of view, and in all the work that I create, I put the viewer and the consumer first in what I'm creating. I don't find there's a consumer market for it at all. I'm sick of seeing it on my social media feed.
Yeah.
And if I can smell that this has been artificially generated, then I will scroll faster than you can believe onto the next thing. Like, I don't want to give that another nanosecond of my time.
Yeah.
Because why would I? Why would I bother watching or reading something that someone couldn't be bothered to write or create themselves?
Yeah, I get that with ChatGPT images. And I feel like for me, there's like a moral, everyone's got their moral compass around generative AI. And I feel like images is one of those things for me. It's just, as soon as I see a ChatGPT generated like graphic, I'm just like, whoop, I don't want to see it. I'm a bit more forgiving when it's text if you can tell they've had some involvement in it. And this is what I mean by there's a moral line. Whereas some people were just like, as soon as they see an M dash, right, scroll down, So it's like, that there's different viewpoints with that. But for me, like music, art, images, I feel like sound.
It's getting
that
harder
kind of
to tell, right?
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, it is getting harder to tell, and it is worrying where it's going and the safety around it, and deepfakes in particular being one of the main ones. But yeah, and that I do feel like everyone's got their own moral compass of where they use it and where they don't.
Well, we just need to keep talking about it, so just not have it just deployed at scale. Just we need to keep asking what's going on and hearing everyone's opinion. It's so important.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about something else. AI may sort of come on to this, because we've got another guest who spoke about accessibility. So I'm just wondering, with AI and tech, Ross, I know that you have been quite open about having a hearing impairment. Where does AI and tech come in accessibility and supporting hearing impairments?
Supporting my own hearing impairment.
Yeah, for example, yes.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I mean, the hearing processor that I might use, the software that I use for that, probably has some algorithm or something going on within that. There's noise cancelling within it. I have different settings on it that I use in different environments. I couldn't accurately tell you if there is any sort of AI embedded technology in there. But, to sort of link this back to the previous conversation about the sort of nuance around AI, to say like, are you using AI? And it's sort of like saying, are you using the internet?
Yeah.
Are you using software? Right? This technology is kind of becoming more and more embedded in the everyday products that we use.
Yeah.
right? Even this microphone and the technologies that we use, there's something going on there. There's software in the background that is processing that audio. So just to say, oh, are you using AI? Well, I mean, if I'm walking down the street and I'm scrolling on social media, then yeah, probably. It's just happening in the background. But it is also kind of like saying, do you use technology? Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Because what I'm thinking is, we've got earbuds, AirPods, are they? Not earbuds, AirPods, and they can translate at the same time in your ear as you go. Our hearing aids do. I think hearing aids are now doing that also, aren't they?
I don't know.
I think there's a lot of technology being used in different ways. So yeah, this umbrella term of AI, I think, can be problematic. We do need to clarify exactly what we're talking about, but it's good to find out.
I think it helps to talk more in terms of tools and specific use cases, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you using this particular tool or this particular thing, and thinking about how you're using it with intent and intention. To come back to my hearing loss, and the conversation around AI, the thing that influences my creativity far more than AI is my lived experience of hearing loss.
Yeah.
Right? Because I bring that experience into the work that I create. And that is something that AI could never, ever replicate, is my passion for visual storytelling, my approach to creating media that is accessible and has captions enabled for caption users like myself, right? And it's only through that lived experience am I able to bring that authentic representation of myself into my work. And AI can't have that.
It can create captions for you, but then you've got to go and tidy them up.
Yeah, you do need to tidy them up. Auto captioning tools are getting better and are getting more accurate. They still struggle a lot with particular accents and things as well.
Yeah.
So there is a bias in how those AI algorithms have been trained and the voices that they've been trained with to recognize. Because if someone is speaking and they don't have English as a first language, say, and you're trying to ask it to caption the video in English, it's really going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you need that human input to go through and sort of proofread it to make sure that it is accessible for people.
Yeah,
we need to be more human in this age of tech and AI.
Yes.
Definitely be more human. That's one of my takeaways today. Be more human.
Definitely. I mean, you design a lot of content with accessibility in mind. Could you give our listeners one practical change that they could potentially do in their own content to really help make it accessible? I know there's more than one, but try and think of one.
I'll try and think of
the
one.
big one.
We were just talking about captions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really easy thing for people to embed when they're creating video content. Caption your work, caption your videos, proofread it, make sure that it's accurate. If you're creating content for social media, a personal bugbear of mine is what I call karaoke style captions. So just one word at a time flashing up on screen is really not accessible for people who use those captions in order to understand the wider context of a sentence that's being said. So have a few more words on the screen. So the way that I use captions, for example, is I kind of use both. So I use a hearing implant in order to hear things. I'm lip reading and I'm looking at those captions. And all of those things together give me the context so that I can enjoy that piece of media. And if it's just one word appearing on screen, it sounds a bit like that. It's really staccato. It's really hard for me to sort of process. So that would be my one tip for an accessibility
This accessibility first thing, it does annoy me when you've got apps where they do make the captions for you and they might be quite good quality. They'll pick things up, but it's always the most inaccessible captions that are the default, isn't it? So you always have to go in and change and make sure it's slightly longer and that, but just putting in that extra little bit of effort is just going to help people rather than just don't use the default, go and change it.
100%. Yeah. And recognizing that accessibility tool is not just for people who are hard of hearing watching your content.
Yeah.
It's also for people who might be on public transport, who might have English as a second language, for a mother who's breastfeeding at 2 a.m. and is scrolling online or taking an online course or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really much of an excuse these days. The tools are out there, but it does need that human input into it as well.
Yeah, we need to humanize everything around technology. It isn't just this hard tech, human first there. So, right.
Quick fire? Yeah. I'm going to go quick fire. Here we go.
Let's go.
So we've got 5 quick fire burning questions. 1-word answers, please.
It's not going to be one word.
It is.
I don't know why you always say one word.
Well, you know, I try.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, 2 words, 3. We'll go for it. Let's go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right. How did you fund your business?
Myself.
Yourself. Self-funding.
Self-funded, bootstrapped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had funding from anywhere else. It's purely just been either self-funding in the early days and then having clients pay us for work for them.
Hopefully paying on time too, because that's a challenge for the self-employed.
Yeah.
What's your best marketing tip?
Speaking to people. I've never had any luck with sort of cold outreach and things like that. And I never sort of like receiving that stuff either.
True.
Yeah.
I found it to be much more authentic and to build a much stronger connection with people by getting to know them.
Yeah.
By going to events, showing up with authenticity and building genuine connections. And sometimes that means that I'm not the right producer for them, but I can refer them to someone who does amazing work because maybe they're not quite looking for educational content or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and being really just honest with people about that. Yeah.
Honesty is the best policy. Okay, so who inspires you and why?
My children. Because the number of questions that they ask, they remind me the power of curiosity in the world.
Yeah.
Excellent. What's your top business or creative tool and why?
Oh, business or creative tool.
Or creative, yes.
Pen and paper.
Wow. Okay. Was I expecting that? No, I was not expecting that. Not at all. Okay.
Get your idea out of your head onto paper, and doing something tactile with your hand helps you to process and understand the meaning of what it is that you're trying to communicate. So before you even get to sort of creating something digitally, try and think about how that is going to look. Who is it for? Who is your audience? What do you want them to learn or understand? Get those ideas out on a piece of paper first and then bring it to the screen.
That's really interesting, because we're moving to paperless environments.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I can see that, yes. Because I doodle and scribble a lot. Wow, I like that.
There you go, embrace the doodles.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
yeah, embrace the doodles. Okay, and the last question, what keeps you motivated when the going gets tough?
I think investing in myself and my own well-being. We talked about the sort of journey of sort of moving from employed to being a startup founder. And it's really difficult sometimes to not work every single hour of the day, because it can feel like the kind of output from my business is directly proportional to your input, right? And how many hours you're working, how much effort you're putting in. And that is true to a point where you begin to sort of plateau, and then you're putting in more and more time, and then that starts to dip, and you can really feel that negative impact on your sort of physical and mental health. So now I'm really protective of my own time, working in a harmonious way that recognizes, sure, some days I've got to put in the extra hours in order to meet a particular deadline or something like that, but not at the expense of my own well-being. I'll take that time back. I'll make sure that I get some exercise. I go to the gym. I spend time with my family. Even just this Wednesday, I had a day off to spend with my son. And that was the highlight of my month, I think, just spending time one-on-one with him.
That's lovely, really lovely.
Amazing. Right, I'm going to ask you the final question then. So what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think for me personally, it would be recognizing that listening is not the same as hearing. And your ability to listen to someone and understand them and connect with them is not directly tied to your ability to physically hear them. And you can build a strong connection with someone regardless of your physical ability to hear them.
Good advice.
I really like that. I really like it. Ross, thank you so much for joining us on Tech Journey Insights and
Oh, my
sharing
pleasure.
your story. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.